Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of Business Marketers in 2021. This is the English version of our webinar. If you want to view the Dutch version, you can ask for the replay on our website. This session will also be recorded and made available afterwards. The session will last about 45 minutes. At the end of the session, all questions will be answered. So now I would like to give the floor to Christophe Sint-Houwin and Serge van Eyck.
Hello and welcome to this beautiful studio of AB Sound here in Opwijk. And what do we have on the menu? Well, how can we close the gap between sales and marketing? And I'm working for quite some while, and actually this gap between sales and marketing, I've always seen it everywhere. And you could say then, well, why bother? But what we see in recent years, and mainly due to the digital transformation, is that companies having this gap between sales and marketing are lagging behind. And with the recent COVID crisis, we see that this gap is even increasing and is having a more negative impact for quite a lot of companies. To close the gap, we also have to question whether we can do it with the classic sales teams or marketing teams. But don't panic, don't be depressed, because in the coming 40 minutes, we will explain you how to fix it and to what beautiful results this can lead. But first of all, sales and marketing. And we are curious to know who's sitting in this virtual room. So if you click on top on the tab poll, and open the poll, and please answer to the question whether you're in sales, in marketing, general management, or in another role.
And so I'm looking at the numbers right now. So we have about 50% in marketing, so a lot of marketing. Not as much general management, but it's still evolving. So there's a lot of clicks going on. We have about 20% sales and over 50% in marketing now, 50% to be exact. So this will allow us to address the right teams and the right people. Like the previous session that we had, where we had a little more sales than marketing and more general management. So it's a balance, but let's say that we will be around 48 now, 48 in marketing, 22 in sales, and then 15 other and 15 general management.
Okay, cool. So let's go back to our menu. And we've prepared an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. And in the appetizer, we're going to have a close look at the customers today. They are much more demanding, much more complex. Secondly, with the main course, we will explain you how sales and marketing really can work together. And as dessert, we will come back to the results of the positive results of this collaboration. I'm Serge van Eyck, and for 15 years, I've been working for the Walt Disney Company in several sales and marketing roles in different divisions. Then for almost 2 years, I worked for DPG Media, mainly a TV broadcaster. And today I'm working for Traxio, Federation for the Automobile Sector, and M&I Day, specialized in building promotions. And today I'll represent the consumer.
And hi from me as well. My name is Christophe Sint-Houwin, and today I'm wearing the hat of the B2B marketeer and the B2B customer, representing the B2B customer. And this is partly because of my over 20 years experience, mostly in B2B environment. So the story we will be telling will be based on, well, this visual. This is something that may seem very abstract at this time, but it will become clear as we go along in this session. And afterwards, I hope it will be the symbol of what Smarketing stands for, because that's what we will be discussing. But before diving into that, I just want to wish you all a very happy 2021 on behalf of the Business Markets team. And I wish you a lot of, let's say, liberty and the availability of a lot of entertainment and the fact that you can visit friends, restaurants, and so on in this year. So let's hope that we do this right in the coming months and at least in 21. And at the same time, I wish you a very good collaboration between sales and marketing. So back to Smarketing. So when you read the term Smarketing, there's two words in there. There's smart and marketing in a way, but there's also sales and marketing, and it's exactly about that collaboration that we will be talking right now. Okay.
So back to our menu and to the appetizer, the customer today. And when we look at the consumer or the customer, B2C, B2B, well, actually, there's not a big difference. Because at the end, a B2B client is a B2C consumer as well. And who would expect that consumers that were actually used to buy with one click or even 0 clicks, that they would queue? And when we look at research that Google has done, then we see that about 90% of consumers actually research online before they purchase. 20% of the online researches happen and then they visit the store and then they go back to online to actually close a deal. And we know that when friends or colleagues or family recommend something, that you are four times more likely to buy it. We see that nearly 95% of consumers read online reviews. So actually, you should use it in your marketing campaign. You should use it, add it to your communication calendar. And closer to home, Traxio, the Automobile Federation in Belgium, did some research end of November last year. And they were interested in knowing how consumers inform themselves before buying a car. And what we see is that physical visit of the dealer, of course, is very important. It's 55%, which is quite logical because a car is still an expensive thing to buy. But a website, both of the brand and the dealers, are also more and more important, or equally important. And word of mouth up to 26%. And in the younger target audience between 18 and 24, this is even 41%. And social media falls within the group of word of mouth. So when we look at this buying process, it's not a single line. It's a spaghetti. It's different paths where consumers can inform themselves or will be informed. There are a lot of touch points today. And for instance, we know that about 20% actually change their mind when they buy a smartphone. Just before buying the smartphone, they already know what smartphone they would buy, and actually just before buying it, they still change their mind. So it's much more complex than we expect.
And this journey, while it's because of its complexity, it makes it harder for us to predict exactly where we will land. How many prospects do we need in order to get a number of consumers? And so this general trends, or these trends that we've just highlighted, where you have a lot of digital influence, this is something that is normal, and it spans out over almost a decade now. But when we look at the last year, because we've also at least considered the bizarre year that 2020 was, McKinsey released just 2 weeks ago a report, and where this digital aspect comes forward, and it is of course enhanced because of COVID. But we are, let's say, we have increased 20 times the number of participants to remote sessions. So we've all started working remotely. What we've seen is that at the point where students were no longer able to join the classes, they had to do remote classes and go online. So in just 2 weeks, 250 million Chinese students were brought online and were taught to follow lessons online. So you see an evolution also there, and it is all a little bit larger, but of course there are some things that will remain. When we look at the entertainment side of it, we or McKinsey considers that in the past 5 months, the equivalent of progress was made as in the previous 7 years when it comes to online entertainment. And to be very specific, Disney Plus has achieved in just 2 months what it took Netflix 7 years to do before. Will we all remain in this online entertainment behavior and continue doing this, or will we go back to the cinemas? That's another discussion. I hope we can still do both. But the fact is that we have changed our behavior, or that we've learned new things, and that we've experienced new things, and some of these things will remain also after COVID. More into the B2B, then let's look at some numbers here. The first number you probably know, so it's the second one I'm going to pick out. It's not just the CFO, the CEO that in a B2B role will be deciding on everything and all the budgets. On average, we say that we need to address 5.4 people, and I'm not going to discuss who the 0.4 is, but depending on these numbers, we know that we have at least we have to address 6 people in our marketing campaigns. If you believe the Gartner study that was published, it goes up to 10 people. But we need to have a lot more people in our marketing campaigns. We have to invest a lot more, and we actually cannot afford to have too much waste. So we need to be more focused. Whenever we get then the chance to talk to a customer, we have to know that he or she has only 17% of her time reserved for a conversation, a direct conversation with us as a possible vendor or provider. And if there are, let's say, 4 people in the shortlist, this will be, of course, divided by 2, and we will only have 45%. So what I'm trying to say is that this complexity you have in the individual or in the B2C environment, you just have that same kind of complexity also in B2B. And that brings us to the following conclusion here is, are we ready for the customer of tomorrow? Now, let's have a look at this. What was related to the outside world, I would say. But now let's have a look at how we're going to solve this, or how we're going to attack this issue, and look at the Smarketing way of working, because that's what we are here for. So when we look at sales and marketing, I always I get this feeling that they are looking at each other and they're kind of eye to eye, but they're not really looking forward together towards the customer or towards the future. And so it's the eternal sales and marketing paradox, because they have the same objectives, they have the same targets, they want to bring in new leads, they want to bring in new business, and they want to grow the company, and they are, let's say, in the first lines to make that happen. But unfortunately, it's not the case. When I was a student, there was a film called Glengarry Glen Ross. You can find this on YouTube, and it's a very, very interesting film of where we have let's say salespeople of a company, and they're in real estate. Let's say the motto of the sales guys is ABC: always be closing. Whereas on the other side, there's AIDA, the attention, interest, desire, and action. From the marketing teams, and they're discussing, and it's if you look at the cast, it's Al Pacino, Alec Baldwin. Very cool to see this film. It is kind of explicit, so you probably won't like to have the kids around, but it's always about the leads, the quality of the leads, and always this discussion of the sales not being able to close the business. So this is something where 25 years past the release of the film, and we still see the same issues. The only thing is, today we have a solution, and this is what we're currently discussing.
And actually, business can learn a lot from the Formula One world. And we see here a race car in a pits doing a pit stop. And when we look at the pilot, well, he's our salesman, and the people around the car are the marketing team. When we go back to the race circuit, then the pilot knows exactly where to stop, and the people that are responsible for changing the tires and fueling the car, they have a specific role, and they know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And the final result is that in almost, well, or less than 2 seconds, they managed to change tires and to fuel the car. And that these 2 seconds can have a big impact, because that will at the end define whether they will lose or win the race as a team, not a pilot alone. And then when we look at how sales and marketing describe each other today, then 87% of what they say about each other is negative. Quite strange, because they're supposed to work together. But how do we bridge the gap? How can we get them closer? How can we let them work together? And we've defined 3 steps for you to organize this. And in the first step, it's all about the people. In the second step, we will look at the process. And in the third step, we will have a look at the tools, mainly digital tools. So first step, people. And we know changing the behavior of a person is very difficult. It's one of the hardest things to do. So how do we manage it? Well, it starts by aligning the teams, really aligning the teams. In my experience with Disney, it happened that brand managers were introducing themselves towards sales. They didn't know who they are. And one of the results that we installed with Disney was like creating duos, creating pairs, and put a sales guy together with a marketing person. And actually from in the beginning till the end. So they were working together on the plan, presenting it together to management, and actually at the end presenting it to the final customer. And this created a lot of respect for each other. Within Business Markers, we developed an assessment. And in the assessment, sales will evaluate marketing with a list of questions, and vice versa. And the result of these questions, the answers of these questions, we will plot them on a spider web. So you really see the difference. You have the red line and the green line, and one is sales, the other one is marketing, and you actually see the difference between the answers of both teams. So you really can see where the gaps are. We made this assessment available for you. So if you have a smartphone, you can scan the QR code, but this webinar is also recorded, so you always can go back. If you go to our website, you always can go back to the webinar and download the assessment later on. Please share the results with us, because of course we are very curious about how the situation is in your organization. The second thing when we want to fix the issues between people is, well, to see do they talk the same talk? Do you have clear definitions about the terminology you're using? What is an account manager and what is a project owner? Do you understand? I mean, if both teams are referring to it, do they understand each other? Do they have the same definition? When is a marketing qualified lead turning into a sales qualified lead? So this is a very important thing. So we're curious about the situation in your organization. So we organized the second poll. So if you click on the poll tab, then you can have a look at the questions. Is it all clear? Of could do better? Of yeah, but we plan on doing that. Or it's about time to start, or I don't have an idea.
So we'll leave you some time to vote. And so I actually see that I think most of you, there's only 6% indicating that everything is clear, and so which is very good. But yeah, most of you, I think we have about 44% now. Let's say that 50% yes, but we could do better. There's no, but we plan on doing that. There's about 20%. 20% says no. It's about time we start. Well, numbers are shifting a little bit because you are still voting, obviously. But let's say that all in all, there's only 4% now indicating that it's clear. So the other parts are growing. So it's actually, this shows the relevance, and the universal issue that you have is about talking the same language. Now, this is doing the assessment, having the definition set right. This is a very crucial step, but there's more to it. Next is there, you also need common goals. And what we usually tend to do is to align these goals between sales and marketing, meaning that you give sales teams also marketing goals, and vice versa. You give marketing teams also sales goals. They have to be involved in the, I don't know, the number of new customers that you need. They have to be involved in the revenue the net revenue targets that have to be achieved, and so on. You have to choose your own goals, of course, because it depends on your particular situation, and depends on your type of organization. You can have field marketeers, you can have product marketeers, and so on. You can have different sales profiles, and so on. It's just a matter of picking the right goals, because just by picking them, you will create this unity. You will create the same feeling and the same objective within the entire team, both within sales and marketing. You will be both part of the same soccer team, and whether you're the goalie or whether you're the one making the goals, or everything in between, you know what the exact goal is for everyone within the team, and this is crucial. If we know what talk we talk, what goals we have, what targets we have, then it's a matter of defining the roles and responsibilities. And there we have some question marks. So if you look at the role of the sales guy today, is the traditional sales guy still relevant in the market of today, in the market of tomorrow? And this is I think one of the biggest issues is that people need to reinvent themselves and reinvent the roles. And also this also goes for sales. You already have environments where there are no salespeople involved, no longer involved. For instance, BMW started a project a couple of years ago, and they successfully closed it in the meantime, where they replaced the sales teams within the dealerships by very passionate product experts. And these product experts were motivated by the number of interactions they had with customers, and the satisfaction of those customers afterwards. It was not based on a revenue target, and so this means that they had really an open conversation with the customer, very passionate about a product, about the advantages of a product. And this is not really what a salesperson, or a traditional salesperson, I would say, is currently doing. There is one important element I would like to bring forward, and this is the credibility pyramid. And this is something that has been drafted by Jos Burgers. It's a consultant working in Europe, and he published this over a decade ago already. But this is something that always comes back. As you can see here, this is a credibility pyramid, and on top you can see the most credible element that a company can put forward in order to motivate or convince a customer. And in this case, it's the own experience of the customer. This is why when you leave the supermarket and you get a can of Coca-Cola to just have a taste, you will be convinced whether you like it or not, because it's your own experience. What is the least credible, at least in the whole list, is on the bottom of the pyramid, is sales. And this is because sales has this commercial flavor, and it's based on previous and historic images that are circling around still in this current market. But if we know that around 70% in the coming years, we will have around 70% of millennials taking the decisions both in B2C and B2B, because they will be the majority of them will be considered as adults. They are going to decide and they're going to take decisions and interact differently, and not be very appreciative for the traditional salesperson. The same goes for marketing, and so also there we have, as marketeers, we have a kind of a challenging image, and this is the idea that people have about marketing people. But also there, are we with the current marketing techniques, and I'm not just talking about digital marketing or anything like that, but it's about are we, with the current ways that we are approaching the customer, still doing the right things? Are we with our traditional, or are the techniques and the profiles of yesterday, are we still relevant in the market of today, the one for tomorrow, and even as we are marketeers and looking further ahead in the market of the day after tomorrow? However the case, so you will have to do your own evaluation, and we can of course assist in that. But whatever the case is, you need to consider it as a whole team, and it means that both sales and marketing have to be able to get into each other's shoes and understand what the business is, so that the sales understands what the business of the marketing team is, and vice versa. The Belgian Post, for instance, whenever you are hired by the Belgian Post in whatever job you're going to get, you will be joining the postman for a number of days, and this gives you a very good idea on what that job is about. And in this case, well, I usually hear sales guys say, "Okay, we need a mailing. That's about 10 minutes work for a marketeer." Well, it's not. This is not the case, and so by bringing everything together and making sure that they understand each other's role, it will create the necessary respect, and increase the Smarketing or the sales and marketing collaboration. When you have gone through all these steps, and then I mean sales and marketing speak the same language, so you've done the assessment, they speak the same language, you have the same goals, and they know each other's roles and responsibilities, and they understand it, then it's a matter of putting this all on paper. It may seem weird, but the most efficient way of making them both work together is to draft an SLA, making really an agreement on whenever, for instance, in a shop, when all the salespeople are talking to customers and someone is approaching the counter, you will not have that person wait. There's someone else from the marketing team or the back office or whoever is in the office who goes down to the desk and helps the person that is waiting. Or when we have an event or when there's a contact with a customer, you put those details into CRM within 24 hours, and so on. So this can be very detailed, but it's really of what is expected from each other, what are the agreements that we have and the commitments that we are taking towards each other. HubSpot has provided some kind of template, so you can download it from their website, by the way. So this could be a very interesting example to use, either for a campaign or for the collaboration between the teams in general.
And that brings us to the end of this chapter. And to summarize it with a good example, we have the example of Lego. And in 2014, the company results of Lego were not that good, and they lost their market position, the first market position. And the general management of Lego decided to introduce marketing. And what I did is actually what we just explained, all the steps to get the people together, to let them work together, to create common goals. And they actually asked sales and marketing, have a look at the consumer and check what the consumer is expecting for us and find an answer. So they did. And in 2 years' time, this actually brought very positive results for Lego. In 2016, Lego had again the #1 position in the toy world, and they passed Mattel. And in 2016, had a turnover of almost 6 billion, which was the highest turnover up till then. So a very good example of how it can work. And that brings us to step 2, the process. What is this process? Well, it's getting the purchase funnel right. And when we look at the purchase funnel, I think we all know AIDA, awareness or attention, interest, desire, and action. And the first 3 levels were mainly done by marketing, and then sales was in place. And at the end, we didn't really know who the customer was. We were just spreading the news. There was a lot of waste, and we hit the customer, but when and how, we had no clue. And it worked in these days, but today that would be impossible. We know that the customer is much more demanding, and the customer journey is different. So the purchase funnel has to evolve, has to change as well to be in line with what the customer is expecting.
And when we look at that customer and at the customer journey and at that funnel, for instance, what you can see here is a draft. This is the way we at Business Markers have drafted the customer journey. But of course, it depends on how you are doing this for your company. We've added the first line, the epiphany, the moment that a customer knows that he or she has an issue, and we can of course help him to realize that. But then the phases are more or less similar up to the point where a customer takes a decision to put their trust and to buy, but then it doesn't stop. So you have this loyalty phase that we've added in this case. I'm sure you've reworked the traditional sales funnel in your on your end, or so I'm pretty convinced that you have this sorted. But the importance is about not just having these phases right, but having an agreement on who's going to do what when. And so where traditionally marketing was involved in step number one, for instance, and if everything went well, and at the end there was a they could give the loyalty card in step 5, or send flowers whenever the deal was closed. It's now a matter of aligning who's going to do what when. And it's not a matter of being involved, because everyone has to be involved from the start, meaning that both marketing and both sales, they will be involved throughout the entire process. It's just a matter of who's taking ownership of a certain process or a certain action at what time. And this is what Smarketing is about. When we turn it around, so we've created a new funnel, and this is the funnel 2.0. You will see the same you will see the same phases come back. So it's the customer journey. In the red text, you can see how we are going to respond to that. So initially, we are going to inspire, and then in the end, we're going to close the deal and grow the customer. And then we've also aligned on what to do and who's going to be in charge of what type of what part of the process. But at the same time, when we draft our marketing, or at least our Smarketing plan, we're going to decide on what actions we will be taking in what phase. And this is something we will do together. And also there, it can be done in team, just as in the example that Serge gave about Disney. But the importance is going through that entire funnel together.
And a very visual way of mapping your communication is to plot the 5 phases on one page. And at the top, you see the epiphany phase, and then clockwise, you turn around and you have your 5 phases. And actually, what you do is you plot your communication platforms in every sector, in every phase. And if you see gaps, then you know where to add communication. And as you can see, it's a variety of communication per phase, because you also always have to bear in mind that the consumer is not seeing it all. The consumer is seeing only a part of it. So you have to make sure that you have a fully covered communication deck to make sure that you hit your customer. So when we talk about communication, then the message is very important. So content is king, and content is still king. So it's still very important. That's how you will convince your consumer to build an interest in your product and to finally to buy it. So when we go back to our funnel, what we do in Business Markers is we flip it. We flip it around. And we start, when we flip it around, we start with the client, and we say, okay, what if the client becomes a fan? And we will start identifying our fans, and we will give them the necessary messages and possibilities to turn them into an ambassador. Because we know when we get enthusiastic fans that they will start spreading the news for us. And thanks to social media, we can do this in a very effective way. So we use our clients, turn them into an ambassador, and let them spread the news. And per phase, we will define what kind of message we will use. And actually, again, this is a collaboration between sales and marketing. It's something you do together because that's the strength of the whole funnel. And who else than Simon Sinek can tell it this way? To drive sales, make a pitch. To build loyalty, make a friend. And I have a nice example of the importance of fans. When in 2012, the Walt Disney Company acquired Lucasfilm, then, well, the Star Wars franchise was already a very strong franchise, and there were a lot of fans around the world. And they actually were anxious and were a bit afraid that Disney would not tell the right story, but that the new movie that Disney would start to make would be not really, well, managing expectations. And Disney was aware of it. So what they did is they invited the fans. They invited them to check the script, to check the scenario. They even invited them to go to the movie set and to make sure that the content was right. And also in Belgium, we use the local 501st Legion to help supporting the release of the new movie. Because within the 501st Legion, there's a division, and they're specialized in building these props. And 1 year before the release of the movie, Lucasfilm, well, Disney, sent the plans of the speeder of Rey. And Rey is one of the main characters in the movie. And the advantage of this was that they got a lot of press coverage, free. So we actually could save money. So not only the content was getting better, we were saving marketing budget. And that's the strength of a fan. And that's why you should do it.
And this brings us actually to the full cycle, and this is the way we've combined both parts of the funnel. So you have this marketing model, or this sandglass or hourglass, where you can go throughout the entire, starting at the epiphany phase and up all the way down to nurturing advocates. And to give you another example, about 10 years ago, a guy talked to me and he said, there's a new car coming onto the market. It's a Tesla, and it's a new model of Tesla because there was already a more exclusive one available. And this will really change the way we are going to drive electrically. This person has, in the meantime, started the Tesla Motors Club, or the Tesla Owners Club, rather, in Belgium. It has grown until it's now over 5,000 to 6,000 members, if I remember. It's the second biggest club in the world, and it's actually the biggest business club in the world. And these guys are so important in the channel, in the sales. They have a huge sales impact for the Belgian markets, and a huge influence. And what happened is that this person started on top of the whole funnel, became a customer. It became a very powerful and impactful customer, became an advocate who not only drew in new customers, but also created new ambassadors, new advocates that are boosting this brand. And so this is a great example on how the whole journey is now aligned with this type of customer. And it also underpins that we as a team, as a sales and marketing team, have to work together in order to cover that entire funnel, to support these specific customers that want to become at least an ambassador and refill our funnel. So this concludes the second part. So let's say after the people part, we also are going to close the process part and now move into the tools, the last part of our presentation. Now it is a shorter part, but it's equally important. When it comes to tools, the main thing is, or the main message is, there's plenty of them, and the question is, which one do you want to put in place? Which one do you want to implement? This is this is the marketing technology landscape from chiefmartech.com. You can find it also online. About 10 years ago, they started to evaluate marketing tools. They had around 150. In 2020, at least, they had 8,000 of them to evaluate. And so the conclusion is, you have plenty of tools, and you need to start with the people, with the process, and then add the tools to make sure that everything works smoothly, and to consider a tool really as something useful that can enable certain processes and certain results. If there is one that I have to pick out, it will be a very traditional one. It's the CRM part, and here you can see a screenshot of let's say Salesforce is a very known CRM environment, but it's actually the hub between sales and marketing, and they are going to work together to complete this tool to make sure that the right data and the right content is in there. But at the same time, there are other elements that are non-human driven, I would say, that are going to complete this view and to complete the CRM and make sure that we are able to profile our customers in the right way. The dark areas you see on the screen here are, in this case, it's Pardot. Pardot is a marketing automation tool that runs on top of Salesforce. It's also part of Salesforce, by the way. The dark elements are elements that the tool has provided himself, meaning the number of downloads, visits online, looking for, well, is this contact person reachable through Facebook, Twitter, online, other tools, and it has even indicated or has even added a picture of this person, of this contact person. So this is something that comes in automatically, and it allows us to really do one-to-one marketing on a larger scale. And while this is a very well, I may be kicking in an open door. This is a tool that has been on the market for years. It's very difficult to have this really aligned, well nurtured, and treated in the right way by the sales and marketing teams. This is what we experience, and so this is my first recommendation when it comes to tools would still be make sure that CRM is your central version of the truth, I would say. And that you align on that tool.
So know your client. Christophe already mentioned that between 6 and 10 people are deciding whether you will win or lose, for instance, in the B2B deal. And so it's important that you know who's sitting in front of you. And we all know the business lunches, and the business lunch used to be, and it still is, but was the best way to get to know your client better than before. And it was not only about a business; it was about his hobbies, his family, pets, his interests, and all this is important. And now with the systems, it's important that we put it in a database. And that it's not only the job of sales, it's also marketing, and there's many ways to complete the database. It's important that even a small detail can make a difference in sales. So it's important to get the data right. Back to our funnel. We can measure it. We can measure success, and that's the advantage today. That if you, for instance, go from the epiphany phase towards the awareness phase, that you can see, like, okay, I start with 100 potential clients, and I convert like 2% into the second phase, and so on and so on. So at the end, and it will be hard to get it right from in the beginning. So it's you have to test with different platforms with different ways of communication. But at the end, you will be able to estimate the conversion, which is quite handy if you want to decide whether you're going to invest more or less. So that brings us to the end of the main course, and in the dessert we will explain you what the positive impact will be of both teams collaborating together. And we all know the Netflix series 13 Reasons Why. We don't like the number 13. It's bad luck, so we go for the number 7. But I mean, I think you will be convinced that there's many more reasons than 7 reasons why you should do this. First of all, if you work together, the quality of your leads will be better, up to 67%. If you have better leads, then, well, at the end, you will have higher revenues. And on average, we see an increase of 27%. Quicker results, up to 24% faster growth, and 2 teams working together. Well, actually, that's a positive thing. And our colleague Lucia did a webinar about employee engagement and the importance of employee engagement last month in December. So have a look at it. Interesting information in this webinar. The content will be much better, message will be much better, and actually teams together, we will be smarter. And at the end, we will have happy customers. And we know that if the customer is happy, then he's more likely to stay with our brand, with our product, and order more of it. So actually, that's a positive news about it.
And this brings us to the end of our story here. So again, this is a backbone through which on which we are going to build our marketing teams and make everyone work together. And if I would give you three takeaways, three elements that you would definitely have to remember after this this session, it's the following: you start with people. You make sure that they talk the same talk, that they have the same targets, and that they understand each other's roles and responsibilities. You put that into an SLA, and you make sure that they are working together. This will be the most challenging part. I can assure you, this is the most challenging part of this marketing concept. Secondly, you adapt the process. You make sure that your marketing way of working is applied. That you use your customer journey, but you leave it. Running on all the way to the end, making sure that these advocates can do their jobs and that you can support them both from a marketing and a sales standpoint. And finally, it's about tools. CRM is key, as mentioned, and also try to make it as measurable as possible. The conversion rates, being able to measure the effect or the return of every investment that you do, and that both sales and marketing understand what it's about and what it's for. And then it's up to you. It's about doing what we've just discussed and what we are talking about. And so we're actually very anxious to know whether you will succeed. I'm sure that some of you will try this. I hope you do. And I don't know if we can add another poll now, and so that we can look at who's going to try it. But even if you don't complete the poll, just let us know. You can also you can always contact us. Then let me quickly have a look. So there's let's say the majority is looking forward to implementing it. This is what I see, over 60%. And then we will be happy to answer any kind of questions, because we still have time for a few questions here, the Q&A. So I'd like to ask Serge to join me again. So next to the poll tab, you have the question tab, and so you can definitely ask your question there. I can see what questions are coming in. I already have a first question, and it's about this little bear that you can see on the screen and what it's for. And actually, there's a short story about this bear. So it's actually a bear that allows us. We consider sales and marketeers bear hunters, and our hunters or our bears are our customers, and often we are doing things that are not really related to this bear hunting. So it's for us, in order to keep focus, we need to focus on our bears, and this is why this little bear is always it's our mascot at Business Market. So this is something that you will see pop up in other webinars just as well. Okay, so before going into other questions, there's a specific question, or let's say there's a pop-up also that you can see on the screen. I can see it here on my screen. There's a next webinar coming up within about a month, and it's given by Ida Sticket and Lucia Soutens. We make you grow with zero marketing budget. So you can register now for that one as well. But let me have a look at other questions. Have you an example of any persona characteristics which has allowed you drastically increase the sales? I actually have one example that I can give. So thank you, Antoine, for that question. It is more in B2B, so I don't know in what type of business you are, but let's say that by including also personal information such as hobbies, you can do a more in-depth analysis and focus campaigns on people's let's say off-site time. So I've done this for an IT company several years ago, and it was in something that is called account-based marketing. So this is very specific for larger deals, but by just knowing what characteristics such as how is this person interested in cycling, in cars, in photography, you can also you can have let's say a common ground to discuss, and you can have a common subject which you can start talking about and starting a conversation, because it's always about getting into contact with a person, having a relationship and a sense of familiarity between both the seller and the buyer. And so you can add the characteristics that are relevant for your business. So in this case, it was really like hobbies, which allowed us to do very focused marketing, to do relational marketing. So this is something that does help. I have another question. Do you have any examples of this implementation in not-for-profits? So I presume it's non-profits then. Also there, I think the process, and it depends, not in every company, it depends on how you call your marketing and your sales teams. You may have representatives, or you may have consultants rather than salespeople, but there's always someone sitting in front of the customer, and there's always someone more, let's say, in the back end, doing the communication or preparing the online communication, organizing events, and so on. As long as they both do not understand each other, you will always have that same challenge. It definitely is applicable also in non-profit. And I'm sure that I don't have one at the top of my head, but I'm sure that we've done some in the past.
Well, actually, I have actually working on it now is the Traxio, the Automobile Federation, grouping all federations of the automobile sector. And they have what they call secretary generals that are actually dealing with the 12 federations in Belgium. And then there's internally, there's a marketing communication team, and it's about working together. It's knowing what the members of Traxio are actually expecting from Traxio as a service, and by doing it together, we get it sharper and sharper. Another example is the MEVB, the STIP in Brussels. Actually, there we worked together with sales, marketing, and the network. So the division responsible for building the trams and the trains and the bus networks in the city. And there we were working on common goals so that the end result was much clearer.
Okay, a last question perhaps from Stefan Marana. Hi, when you need to build completely a new structure, should you focus first on sales team to create a marketing budget, or vice versa? Question of the egg and chicken, and it's in the pharma world, obviously. It is indeed a matter of the chicken and the egg, and so there's not let's say a single answer to that question. The way we approach it usually is we bring both teams together, and it all starts with the sales targets, because that's usually the thing that is defined up front. So if you have an annual strategy or you have a 3-year strategy, you know where you need to end after those 3 years. It's usually translated into specific, into numbers, to euros, sales targets, and we start from those sales targets. How are we going to get there? And so you bring both the sales and marketing teams together in order to discuss how they will be getting there. So this is the way we usually approach it. So it is you start from the sales targets, you translate that, and also there it's a matter of experience. For instance, when you build your pipeline, you know that your pipeline, depending on the business, is 6 to 8 times your sales target. You know that the marketing has to build up a lot of leads with that and that amount of pipeline in order to succeed. And which are the actions you are going to run? And this is exactly what you're going to define next. And so this is how we usually build it up. We start with the general strategy, the sales targets, and the sales objectives. And this is what we break down, and we work together on a plan with both the sales and marketing teams in order to get there.
And to add to this, if you would only have one person, then it could be a marketing guy. It could be a mixture of both. I know organizations where people are in a marketing role for 4 years and then switch with the sales team. Total, for instance, is doing this. So it's looking at talent in a different way, and it's looking at people that have both skills and to maximize it. It's different from the way we thought 20, 30 years ago.
I have just we have time, just 2 more minutes for one last question. How can I use this in children's marketing?
Children's marketing. That's from my experience. Children are very honest, and the positive thing about children is when you do events and you invite them, then you quickly turn them into fans and into ambassadors, because by just having the like toys and building a world where like, and I'm not talking about the Walt Disney Paris, the Paris resort in Paris, but it's like on a premiere, on an event, you let them play with tools, and they will give honest answers, and you share it, and they're open to share it. That's what they do, and you make it a family decision, because it's not only about the children. I mean, as a parent, when your kids are happy, you're happy as well, and you will share that enthusiasm with other families, and that's how you can create a community of fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, the role of sales and marketing, that is just to influence and to use that knowledge
Mm.
and to set up a structure from there. So again, for the other questions, we will try to answer them offline, or if there's anything, I'm sure you can find our information both on our website or later on. We do have our details on the last slide. But first of all, I'd like to thank you for joining. Again, there were a lot of people in this session and also in the previous sessions. So thank you very much for your attention, for your time. We hope we've informed you well. We look forward to answer anything or any questions that you have related to this topic. And I'd like to thank the guys from AB Sound, because they've created a really great virtual world. And I don't know if they can show you what we are seeing, because we do not see the same things that you do. Yeah, this is what the studio really looks like. So we're in front of a green key. So thanks, guys, for creating this hugely this really cool environment. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar and on the next occasion. Thank you.
Thank you.